Hello there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a card for you for the Brutus Monroe blog hop for the end of the month of May. So head on over to my blog for some details. I'm going to start off using the Cat Life stamp set by Brutus Monroe, and I'm going to stamp that out onto some expressive cardstock, and I'm going to stamp some of my images on some masks because these adorable little cats in this awesome set are meant to overlap. A few of them are. And so I'm just going to trim out some masks. And when you're cutting out your masks, you want to cut right on the line so you don't get any ghosting, which would be that white line that you get when you're stamping and you don't quite get all the way. So I'll put that mask over the top and then I'm going to grab the next stamp. So it's supposed to look like that little cat right above is sitting or laying across the back, and pardon my head, laying across the back of the next little cat. So I'll ink him up with some Memento Tuxedo black ink, stamp him down, and then I will put my mask paper in there and stamp what I have left onto that mask paper and do the same thing. Cut him out. I'm going to move the previous mask and I'm going to hang on to that. I'll just put that over the top of my stamp set so that I can save him for a later date. And then I will trim out this next mask, put it over the next cat, and then grab the last cat that would go underneath. I didn't line him up perfectly, and you'd think I would have with my head being in the way as many times as it was, but I didn't line him up perfectly. However, I feel like these are super forgiving stamps. You really couldn't tell if you really weren't looking that hard for it. So I'll stamp down that third cat, and I just love the expressions on their little faces. And that bottom one just looks like, oh my goodness, what's happening? I'll pull that out, take off the mask, and then you can see how they are lined up. And I'll start my coloring. So I'm going to do some Copic coloring. I am coloring this bottom one to look like my cat, Nick. And if you've ever watched any of my videos where I color cats, you know that I have a tendency to try and color them like my cat. But I'm not going to color them all like my cat. My cat is a Seal Point Siamese, and he is something special, I'll tell you that. So I've started off with E84, and then I'll go on to E87. Those E8s are probably my favorite for coloring Siamese, or to try and make them look like Siamese. And this, legit looks a bit like my cat. Then I'm going to color the next one in some orange colors. I'm going to start off with YR14. It's very orangey, so those are the yellow reds. And these are fairly small images, so you wouldn't have to go too crazy with your shadowing or shading. But I do want to add a little bit, so I'm going to go in with YR18, just where I think the shadowing might be from that cat laying on top. Who, I love his expression. He's just got those cute little beady eyes. They look like they're having fun. Except for the cat on the bottom, of course. And then I'm going to go in with the W's. So I'll start with W1 and color all this little kitty with W1, and then for his stripes I'll go in, and for his shadowing, W4. And then I'll blend that out using the W1 once again. To color their little tongues and put a little bit of cheek in some of those, I'm going to grab my R11. So it's very, very subtle. You can't really tell too much unless you're really looking at the card close up. For my card base, I have grabbed some Lunchbox cardstock by Brutus Monroe, and I trimmed that down to 4 1/4 by 5.5 or 11 inches, and then I'm scoring that at 5.5 inches to make a top folding A2 size card. I'm going to take my card base and I'm going to put that inside my mini Misti because I want to stamp the sentiment and I want to try and get that as straight as possible. Well, for me anyway. And this is the best way I found that I can do that. And since these are newer stamps and they haven't been inked up before, it's not a terrible idea to put them in a mini Misti or any stamp platform that you may have to make sure that you get them good and inked up. Because in this case, I needed to ink them up one more time. So I love that. It's like meow, meow, meow. And then I'm going to put these parentheses because the next sentiment says happy birthday, like the cats are telling you happy birthday. Is that not super clever or what? So I'll grab one of the parentheses in there, and pardon my head because I want to make sure I get it lined up. I'll stamp that on the outside. So it definitely looks like the cats are telling you happy birthday. Then I'm going to stamp another cat on the inside. I love this stamp set because it does have quite a few little cats in there, and they all are quite different. I love Brutus Monroe's style of stamps, that's for sure. They're just so whimsical and fun. And then I'll stamp my back stamp. I can't even remember what you'd want to call that. That just has my name and information on the back as well. Because sometimes I forget to do that. I have a piece of white cardstock that's just measuring a little bit bigger than the pattern paper that I had cut out. And I'm going to line that up on my glass mat and put that down with some liquid glue. Surprisingly, that's fairly straight. And then I'm going to put some glue onto my piece of pattern paper and put that right over the top. I figured that would go well with the white border around my cats. So I've got the white border around the pattern paper and the white border around my little cats, because I fussy cut those out when I was done. I want to have a little dimension, so I am going to grab some Scotch foam tape, and I'll put a big chunk of that on the back. So this stuff isn't super thick, so it'll give it some dimension without going too crazy. And then I'm going to grab some Nuvo vintage drops in the color Postbox Red. Now I put down some really tiny drops. I wish that I had shown on screen that I do go back over those because I didn't want them all to be uniform. At this point they're all uniform drops. I do make a few of them a little bit bigger. And I do have a little bit of a mistake there on that very first drop, or the second dot that I did. So I'm going to grab my paper piercer and I'm going to scrape away the little bit of excess. So it had like a little bit of a tail popping out. For a final bit of embellishment, I'll grab my Sakura Jelly Roll White 05 pen and just add a few little dots to make that white pop even more. I find I'm not 100% happy with how it's just a few dots there and a few dots on the other end, so I do put a few in the middle and then go back over it once again with my Jelly Roll White pen. And then when I'm done there, that is going to finish off this card. So there is a close-up at the end here. And as I said, this is a part of a blog hop, so head on over to my blog. I'll have all the information so that you can hop around and not miss any of the inspiration from the rest of the team. This is my last guest design card for the month of May, and it has been an absolute pleasure and a joy to be a part of the guest design for Brutus Monroe this month. So head on over to the blog, and if you liked this video, hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And as always, thank you all for stopping by.